Dr. Michalakis and Dr. Van Kirk, would you both join me up here, please?
You want to start with that?
Well,
I
I'll.
thought there was a video. You start.
Yes, I'll. You can sit.
have her in the chair?
Yes, yes.
Would you like her in that spot exactly?
This is fine. Yeah. What are we doing, Candace? I don't trust you, Candace.
No, you shouldn't trust me. I can't be trusted.
All right, Pat.
You sit there.
Okay.
Should I put that screen down so she can see it? She's not going to be able to see anything if I don't have the screen down, so.
Well, she'll have a copy.
I have no idea. What is this?
Well, why don't you sit there? You'll see it afterwards.
Okay.
We'll tell you what it is. This lady does not have any idea what we are doing. But she trusts us. And I'm going to keep my hand on her shoulder. And we all love her, right? Every single person in this room who knows her. This is Pat I. And she has been a long time hospice and palliative care champion. She retired a few years ago, and not really. She still wants to volunteer. She's a friend to many of us. She is a love. Would you all agree? Yes. And we would like to show you a little video that her granddaughter put together of her life.
Oh my God. She said nothing to me.
Of course she didn't, because I told her not to.
Let me get that one on.
All right. We're going to pull another screen down so Pat can see what kind of trouble we're getting her into. And then Dr. Michalakis will, well, maybe while the screen is coming down, Dr. Michalakis can make a few remarks on behalf of the Palliative Care and Quality of Life Advisory Council, which she chairs. And then Dr. Van Kirk, after the video, has some very important words to share with you from one of Pat's very dear friends who could not be with us. So if you can hang in there with us,
All right.
and if you want to cry, you can go right ahead, okay? I'll hold on to you.
The iris is a flower named after the Greek goddess who is believed to bring souls to the afterlife. It is a flower associated with faith, valor, and hope. The beautiful iris is surrounded by mythos and has inspired many for generations. So it only makes sense that this flower was chosen as a symbol by a truly inspiring woman, aiming to help as many people as possible through the dying process. For New Hope Hospice, started by the legendary Pat I. Now, I just want to make clear that this tribute today is not about New Hope, but instead about the particularly amazing woman who started it all. Without Pat, we would not have the hospice care we do in Maine today. This woman has worked tirelessly to make sure that no one goes through death painfully or without love. It's really hard to know where to start with Pat. She's lived such an astounding life. We could talk about her humble beginnings at Hilltop Orphanage, or her time spent overseas participating in international studies, or talk about the stories she would tell my sister Grace and I about how she loved birthing babies and taking care of others when she was younger. But I think the best place to start would be the early 1970s at Fairfax Hospital in Florida, where she essentially fell into hospice care and really started thinking about the end-of-life process.
A young man came in for surgery. It turned out that during the surgery, he had pancreatic cancer. And he did not know this, and he had a new bride, and she was forbidden to say anything about it, to have any conversation with him about what was really going on. I was off for a couple of days and I saw his obituary. I just thought, this is all wrong. These two people had not been able to say goodbye.
The death of this man, coupled with a few other end-of-life experiences, both clinical and personal, led Pat on a spiritual journey of emotional and physical comfort for the dying and their families. Although the topic of death is sad for most, Pat found a sort of joy in helping these people navigate one of the most vital stages of life.
And people would say, well, you know, that is so gross. Why would you want to be working at something like that? But there was joy in it. There was actually joy in it. And joy is a very spiritual thing. And I mean, it was sad. There was sadness as well, but when you knew that somebody was finishing their life in a way that was satisfactory to them, that was meaningful to them, it was such a good feeling. I never wanted to do anything else.
And that feeling plus sheer determination are what propelled Pat forward to her goal of providing the best end-of-life care that the world has ever seen. When Pat moved back to Bangor in 1981, she started a hospice program at St. Joseph's Hospital with her dear friend and colleague, Sister Rom. Pat was so passionate about hospice care, though, that St. Joseph's could only contain her for about 10 years, until she decided to start her own nonprofit out of the back of her own house and called it New Hope Hospice. And Pat's passion for hospice care and nursing in general was really unmatched. So much so that she eventually roped all the other women in my family into it. My aunt, Constance I, better known as Co, became her volunteer coordinator at New Hope Hospice. And my mom, Patience I, better known as Kitty, became a nurse, also at St. Joe's Hospital. And yes, also working at New Hope Hospice for a time. Even I volunteered. Occasionally I'd go with and walk a dog or provide fun conversation topics. Granted, I was about 16, so there wasn't much else I could do. But the love she showed others inspired both my sister and I, her grandchildren, to lead lives in acts of service. Carrying her philosophies with us for the rest of our lives, in everything we do. Since its inception, Pat and New Hope have helped so many people normalize and navigate death all around the state. Pat's work has been instrumental to the dying process in Maine, and I would argue is a big reason why we're all able to come together like this today. In the short 90 years she's been on this planet. Yes, Graham, I know it's 89, but I'm rounding up for dramatic effect. She's done so much for this community, and it is an integral part of hospice, of not only here, but around the country. Please join me in giving lifelong thanks to Patricia Irene Mikeu I for lifelong service as a hospice nurse in Maine.
Crying for happiness, really, that my granddaughter would do such a thing. I'm so impressed. This has been really why I was put on the planet, this work, this wonderful, wonderful work. And I started out very long ago in the 70s when we were all volunteers. And we all did this work because it was needed and we wanted to do it. And look what it is now. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Thank you all.
Elizabeth. Hi. So I remember when I first moved to Maine, a long time ago, like 1999. And at that time, we didn't have this, right? No, we didn't have an awful lot of hospice, right? And I looked around the state to find who knew something. And I found Candace, and then I found you, right? So I knew there was hope. Right, new hope. I knew we were going to be okay because we had our own Cicely Saunders, our own champion, our own visionary. And you were one of us. Well, you took me in. You were a tight club, and you took me in. And I know that we would not be here today without you. We would not, would we? Thank you.
So, Pat, I'm gonna be over here. And imagine about another 25 years on this face, the same lack of hair, and a lot more wisdom. Bob Bach has composed, and for those, again, of you who know Bob Bach, you have made it in his world when he writes a poem about you. And so I have a poem from Bob, and he asked, when he knew he couldn't be here, he was so upset, that I read this for you. So the first thing I want to read, Pat is an icon in hospice care, who I am privileged to honor this afternoon. Her nurses were compassionate and dedicated and did not hesitate to come out at night. If a patient didn't have insurance or was financially limited, we knew as providers that New Hope was the one to call. And I would add to that when I first came to Maine, New Hope was just the one to call. If you were in Bangor, you called New Hope. This was part of Pat's philosophy, that you take care to the patient first with a strong belief that financial support would come from somewhere. That's just the way it was. How can you argue with a saint? I've tried to capture the essence of Pat's caregiving in the following poem. So now I'm going to read Bob's poem. Our beloved hospice nurse, your compassion like a river always flowing, seen in your eyes that cry with, in your ears that listen to, heard in your comforting voice, felt from your touch, your presence sacramental, your love limitless, able to walk in your patient's shoes without projecting, your faith like leaping on stones to cross a stream, your ethic, kenotic, self-emptying, a servant of God, your vision, a hospice house, your mountaintop dream. You have taken us to the tree line. The rest is ours. With love and admiration, Bob Bach.
When are we going to do this for Ken? Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. My goodness, what was it?
Well, I don't know, but I bet there's a lot of people in this room that will help you.
Thank you, my dear.
All right. I remember when I was sitting in Pat I's house and asking her how things are going with her new program, New Hope Hospice. And she said, well, we've been kind of having a challenging time. We're waiting for payment from Medicare. And I said, oh, my dear, what are you doing in the meantime? And she said, well, as long as my credit card holds up, my staff will get paid. And I have never, I've never forgotten that. Right.
Miss Candace, you're too much. Listen,
Would you like some help back to your seat?
I will. I have to say something. Without this woman, we would not be where we are today. I promise you that. She has been so strong for Maine and helped every hospice. We are all obligated to her, grateful to her for all she's done, including this wonderful day. Thank you. There, thank you. I can walk, but I can't carry stuff.
Well deserved. Well deserved. So now, talk about changing moods for a little bit. Yeah, I'll give you a couple minutes to wipe the tears away, and then we are going to be entertained. And that's the word I'm going to use. I think, and Catherine's not going to entertain us. No, I'm not going to put her on the spot. Jackie Fournier and Robin Wright. And if you don't know either of them, you are in for a treat. And that's all I'm going to say. But it's going to be quite a treat. And they're going to keep you moving. But I think Catherine wants to make an announcement first. So before she quits her job, I better let her do that.
Oh, goodness. Actually, the announcement is I'd like to draw off the door prize. I don't know if people noticed inside your folders there's a ticket. Is there anyone in here who did not get a ticket? I'm not seeing any hands, so shall we? Now, you need to be patient because if I draw a ticket and your number is not on here, it may be from some no-shows or what have you, so. I think you should, Candy. Yeah, I think that would be wonderful.
Ticket number 830510.
I guess we're drawing another one.
Ticket number 830512. Well, for goodness sakes. Yay.